Alhanai National Park is an amazing experience for both hikers and pilgrims alike, but Zabaikalsky's Buddhist center can be found in the Aegean Buryat region. Buddhism plays a major role in Buryat culture. In fact, the region is home to the two oldest Buddhist temples in the whole of the country. But it's not just people's spiritual well-being that they're concerned with here. They've also got a pretty serious academic program too. This Datsan temple is home to around 200 monks and lay students, and there's always a good argument to be had.
It's a teaching process. In course of such discussions, the students learn the philosophic truth of Buddhism.
Yevgeny is the senior monk here and offered to give me a tour of the impressive temple grounds. It was built back in the late 1870s, but fell into disrepair during the Soviet Union. And for the last 20 years, Yevgeny and his brothers have been helping to restore it to its former glory. But the monks haven't only been rebuilding their temple, they've also been restoring their academy. Irma Dashayeva is an English teacher who's been working here since 1994. The students study here for 5 years, and as well as languages and art, they focus heavily on Tibetan sciences.
Tibetan medicine is one of great Buddhist sciences, 5 great Buddhist sciences, and philosophy teacher can teach Tibetan medicine too. He's explained the types of pulse diagnosis.
So there are lots of different ones?
Yes.
What might your pulse tell you? What sort of things? Do you know?
Liver pulse, kidney pulse, different kinds of lung pulse, as I understand.
Okay. And all of those have to be at like a certain rate if everything is okay? But perhaps the most important lessons concentrate on Buddhist thought and ideas, and they have some extremely well-travelled professors.
Philosophy class, and for philosophy lesson, the teacher of philosophy is Bhattar Lama. He came from India. He's our former graduate of our academy. He spent there for 9 years in South India, in common monastery. And nowadays he teaches philosophy for our students.
What language is he writing
It's
over there?
Tibetan.
As my Tibetan is not what it should be, I decided it was time to bid Irma and the monks farewell. But these deep intellectual classes, they do make you think. They may study it for 5 years, but that doesn't mean that the philosophical questions stop for the monks here. Apparently, one of the favourites is simply, how is it I am who I am? I think that's something that probably would take a lifetime to figure out. But the people around here don't just like to exercise their minds. There's plenty of healthy competition among the villagers in this region, especially when it comes to archery. But this is bowmanship Buryat style, and that's a little different. The archers aim at goat hair targets on the ground, and there are some fairly complicated rules. By ear, in that last shot, despite the fact that it looks like a ridiculously accurate one, he just gets 1 point because he's knocked this from there to there. Each participant stands either 20 or 30 meters back and gets up to 32 shots. If you knock the white out of the target zone, it's 2 points. Any others, only 1. It's a technique that takes years to master. But when in Rome... I fancy myself as a bit of a Robin Hood. Можно попробовать?
Let's give it a shot.
Should be interesting. All the bows are homemade from birch bark and horn, and they have Kevlar strings, so not much chance of those snapping in a hurry. Bair is the most experienced archer in the village, so if I was going to get a lesson from anyone, he's the man. Up to the chin. It's got a special groove for it there already.
Grab tight and release.
Right, perfect form without an arrow. Let's see how that changes in about 2 minutes. And then it was finally time to let loose. Okay, so I need to line everything up with this little white target. Close, there's 1 point. I wonder if I could get one of these people to put an apple on their head, what do you think? You trust me? I decided to quit while I was ahead. Anyway, compared to some of the other dapper competitors, I wasn't really dressed for the occasion. It was time to start exploring some more of the local wilderness. Nowadays, none of this territory is off limits, but I was heading to a place that just 20 years ago, I wouldn't have been allowed anywhere near. There are huge areas of undisturbed steppe in the Zabaikalsky region, but in the middle, there's one place that was closed off from the outside world for more than 20 years during the Soviet Union. And it's because of this. That is the largest uranium mine in the whole of Russia, and it fuels 1/3 of the country's nuclear power plants. I was about to head 400 meters down into the Preyagunskaya mine, which produces 80% of all the country's uranium. I've done this a couple of times before in different mines around Russia now, but it always is a little bit creepy when you know you're going so far beneath the surface of the Earth. They take 4,000 tons of uranium ore out here every single day. We're going to see exactly how it's done. New seams are constantly being dug out, and ours was a long, muddy trek down several levels. Look at the pitfalls. Oh, I'm all steamed up here, but it looks like we've reached the point where the mining's going to actually start. Let's check it out. There's some pretty serious equipment in use here. These drills are used to bore holes in the rock, which is then blasted with explosives. It's scooped up and dropped off, ready for collection. So there you go, a piece of raw uranium ore. It's kind of hard to believe that within this is a small piece of radioactive material. Unsurprisingly, I wasn't allowed to use any heavy machinery, but that didn't mean I wasn't going to do a little mining of my own. Now, you can't come down into a mine like this and not get your hands dirty. Of course, when you're dealing with one of the most potentially lethal substances on the planet, I think I want to be dropping this off pretty fast. The only thing you're really likely to suffer from down here is dust inhalation. But in the 4,000 tons of ore they haul out of the pit every day, there's 6 tons of concentrated, highly radioactive uranium. It's a sobering thought. So I've survived my first and probably last trip into a uranium mine without any noticeable ill effects. At least I hope so. Nothing apart from these bits of me are glowing in the dark, are they? My time in the Zabaikalsky region was coming to an end, but I still had 1 or 2 souvenirs to pick up in the Agin-Buryat region. For hundreds of years, the Buryat have had a reputation for beautiful and ornate weaponry, like this antique silver knife here. But like with any old thing, sometimes you need to give it a bit of a touch-up, and there's a lady round here who really knows how to put the sparkle back into things. Darima Dondokova is an artist and silversmith, and if you want something to look its best, she's the woman you go and see. And I thought I'd check if I could get a discount by helping out with the cleaning. Specific scrubbing technique. This is with a bit of elbow grease. This is starting to come up nicely. Hopefully that's shining away there. This will be the envy of all at my next Buryat wedding, which is obviously coming up very soon. Okay, I'm probably unlikely to ever attend a Buryat wedding, but Darima did invite me to a Buryat family picnic the next day, with a bit of a difference. They don't do things by halves when they get together in these parts, and our dinner today was being supplied by a live sheep. So this is actually the most important and sacred part of the ceremony here. You have to do it with your head covered, and you make an offering to the 4 corners of the earth, and that is to ensure that the soul of the ram goes to a different place and is welcomed in by the spirits and by God.
I left the guys to do what needed to be done and got ready to start cooking.
So this is considered to be the biggest delicacy. It's a particular Mongolian Buryat speciality, the liver and fat shashlik, or kebab. Interesting to be cutting meat which is still warm, but no problem with freshness here.
And once we'd sealed the liver, it was time for the second layer.
So the meat, now that it's been cooked, is now wrapped in the fat, and then we go back and cook it again. And this is a very special treat. It's all exceptionally primal. Men, meat and fire. They've been doing it for thousands of years.
I felt truly honoured to have been able to share this experience with Darima and her relatives. An authentic piece of Buryat family life that few Westerners ever have a chance to be a part of. And it was a perfect end to my time in the Zabaikalsky region.
Ну а как ты относишься к экзистенциализму, философскому течению?
Экзистенциализм – это не ругательство. Расширяйте кругозор с новым познавательным пакетом «Открытие». 10 каналов обо всем на свете всего за 199 рублей в месяц.